the Scarlet Knights, which welcome in head coach Caitlin Schweihofer, as well as liberos Madison Chitty and Rachel Tam.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. Thank you for being here. Let me first start off by saying how wonderful of an opportunity this is for our programs and for the conference and for the sport of volleyball. It really is a remarkable event. Last night's reception was just a wonderful opportunity and experience to mingle with all the other teams and coaches and players that we see and we play, and I see out recruiting, but to see them in this environment was very special. So I'm very, again, happy to be here. It's important, I think, for me to recognize the student athletes that I brought with me. Madison Chitty has been our libero for the last 2 seasons. She was one of the youngest liberos in the league, if not the youngest, when she started as a freshman. And she grew up in Big Ten country, but chose Rutgers because she's very committed to doing something special as we kind of continuously build this program into much greater heights. And she can talk more about that a little bit later. And then I also brought Rachel Tam with us. She's our lone New Jerseyan on the team. And that was very important to me when I got to Rutgers, to make sure that our state was represented and that the tri-state area recognizes that volleyball is a growing sport not in our area, but across the country. It is much more highly played, to make sense, if that makes any sense. So for her to come and show that she can play on a Big Ten roster and be from New Jersey, it really will inspire a lot of other younger players to also take up the volleyball rather than maybe another sport that they were exposed to earlier. So excited to have Rachel here with us.
Okay, let's open it for questions here in the room. Go ahead, Lee.
We find talking about volleyball. Kayla, when you took over, you had like an almost entirely foreign roster. You told me that you were going to keep trying to get some foreign players, but you wanted to Americanize the roster.
Mm-hmm.
But with the announcement yesterday that Big Ten matches are now going to be on Volleyball World, it brings you back into the international scope. Does that change anything for you?
Well, if you know anything about Rutgers, we're a very internationally based school. Obviously, we have access to major airports. We're close enough to New York City. That's a big draw for international players. So I see why the interest was there. But it was very important to me to build the brand across the United States. I wanted to make sure that the domestic players understood what competitive level we were aiming to aspire to be at Rutgers, and we've done very well and been very successful recruiting domestically since I've been there. However, Rutgers as a whole is one of the most diverse, if not the most diverse, Big Ten institutions, and I don't want to lose our international flair entirely. So we will continue to be a mix of domestic and international players, but I think as you'll see the roster, it will move from a fully international team with a few domestic players to kind of the reverse, but we will still incorporate international players, and they are very excited that their families get to see them play now. I spoke to a few of them yesterday, so thank you for that.
Just along the same lines, for you guys, has it been fun to play with international players and have you gone to any of their homes, like if you made trips or anything like that, because you've had so many teammates?
Yeah, it's been a blast. Like we made plans to go to Greece. We made plans to go to Italy just because that's where they live. So all we really need to do is book a ticket. It's been cool learning about their culture. We try their foods. We make dinner all together, and they bring what they eat for dinner, and we bring what we eat for dinner. So it's just been a really cool experience to learn about everyone.
Yeah, definitely exactly what Caitlin was saying about the flair. It's just you kind of come to college expecting one experience, and then you're on a team with practically 50% international players, and it definitely gives you a different perspective. But I've only had a positive experience with my teammates, and like Caitlin said again, it brings a little flair and makes things every single day a little interesting, and I learn little new things every single day. So.
Last year was the first Thanksgiving that most of them had ever had, so that was pretty exciting. We were home for Thanksgiving, and I think we had a team meal at their house. And some of the items that were brought to Thanksgiving dinner were not your traditional Thanksgiving items, but it evolves over time. So, yeah.
Let's hear some specifics.
I was not there.
What were some of the things you weren't expecting?
Tina said she brought some weird potatoes.
Oh, she did. She brought some weird potato concoction. I'm not even sure if it was Italian. She just made her own kind of thing, but not traditional turkey or Thanksgiving meal. So it was interesting.
Yeah.
Matt, go ahead.
Matt Brown, Extra Points and D1 Ticker. This is for any of you three. I'm curious, this is already an extremely competitive volleyball conference. Now this league in the next couple of years is about to get bigger, and there's two other historically very strong programs coming in, and programs that are very far away from Rutgers. I'm curious what you three think about the Big Ten expanding in the near future.
I think it's awesome. I think Big Ten's a great conference, and adding those two teams in is just going to expand the competition. And it's going to be cool to travel out there. Been out there a few times, but it's across the country, but I think it's going to be exciting and it's a cool experience.
I'm really excited too. Like Chitty was saying, UCLA and USC are two great volleyball programs, and they've been great volleyball programs in the past. And the Big Ten, again, is the greatest conference in the country. So just adding two more strong teams into the mix just kind of reaffirms our position as the best conference in the country. So I'm really excited.
And as the coach, obviously there's a lot of things to consider, and as my vision for how the program moves forward and climbs the ladder in the Big Ten, yes, it is a big hill to climb, adding two more historically top 25 programs, but I think it only expands our recruiting base. We do actively recruit out of the West Coast, and those players always ask, like, do I ever get to play in front of my home crowd? And now we get to answer yes. It's not just going to be during preseason or a tournament once every 4 years, but we can regularly get them in front of their family and friends. So that's really exciting for us.
Pete?
Pete Furry, Big Ten Plus. Coach, you brought on two new people to your staff, Abby and Bailey. What are they going to bring to the staff this year?
So Abby Dietering came in as our recruiting coordinator. Obviously, she started and set and hit for Penn State. She was in 2 Final Fours, 3 Final Fours, I think. And she is a wonderful voice in the gym. She has a really wide range of skill set, obviously both hitting from the right side and setting. So she's mainly going to work with our setters, even though she probably wants to work with our hitters, but mainly working with the setters. And playing for a legendary coach and really bringing in all the knowledge of what it takes for you to be successful in this league, I think is very inspiring for our players, but also motivating and telling of what's necessary of the work that needs to be put in. So she connects extremely well with a younger recruiting audience of when we have to recruit 15, 16-year-olds. She's really good at creating those connections and being able to share her experience, but she's been a great advocate. Bailey came in for as our director of operations, and she played at George Mason, so she has really kind of just learned that role over the last semester, and I think she's very excited about working in this conference and developing her skill set in more of an administrative role. I don't know if you guys have anything to add about.
I was just going to say that obviously our coaches are really talented and we all learn a lot from them, but Abby having experience in the Big Ten is just another leg up, and she knows exactly what we need to be able to compete and bring it in the competition. So I really love hearing advice from her, and I know everyone else does on the team, so it's really nice to hear what she has to say, especially having experience playing.
But if you hit the seam, she'll block you.
Yes. If you don't block her in the seam, she'll bounce that ball right down.
She had like the winning hitting percentage, I think, all spring. Yeah. We tell her that. Yeah.
Other questions here in the room? Coach, we do have one question. One question on the Zoom, real quick. Coach, can you talk a little bit about the move from the rack or from College Avenue to the rack and playing more of your matches at Jersey Mike's Arena now?
Yeah, Jersey Mike's Arena.
Exactly. So, what has it done for your program to move into that facility?
Yes, I mean, this was a really huge goal for me from my interview process, but also just within the first season, I recognized that as much as I love College Avenue Gym, and we still practice there, we just added some air conditioning in for preseason, so excited for that. But the opportunity to play in Jersey Mike's Arena in front of a larger crowd, in front of a more what I feel is a more professional environment, the opportunity to then be on the Big Ten Network Live, which was something that had never been done before for the program, was a major goal for me, and I was very grateful that we were given that opportunity. And it just shows the support that Rutgers is always putting into this volleyball program. We were definitely behind when it came to facilities and some other things that some of our cohorts had already, but Rutgers has really shown since I've been there the promotion of our sport and the investment they've made into it, and moving us into the arena for matches is one of those major things that they've done for us, so very grateful for that.
Did you have a follow-up?
Not to the equipment. So Caitlin, since I've known you since before you took the job, through the time you've been there, you've maintained an incredible level of optimism, and you stay upbeat. Are there times when it's hard because of the results, like you having to remind yourself of the process?
It definitely is hard, and I look to them because for me, I'm their leader, and I think that the team is reflective of what my attitude towards this process is, and I know what I signed up for, so to speak, and they do too, right? They committed to this, and in the recruiting process, I'm very specific about what type of demeanor and outlook and what our vision is, or because it does take a very special person to come in and suffer through some of those hard moments. And what was said last night by the speakers was very, very inspiring to me, and I think to them as well, because how I look at it is a lot of times you do have some failure before you reach your success. And throughout my career, I've done this before, so they haven't, but I have. And my first go round, I used to really think, am I doing this right? Am I making the best decisions? Am I going about the process correctly? But knowing that I have an educational background in change management and understanding some of the curriculum pieces that go into creating organizational change gives me some comfort, because I know that there is a very specific process that has been documented and categorized by numerous people that are way smarter than I am, so that gives me some faith. But I think that the girls showing me in little ways that they're also bought in, and in big ways, just keeps me very hopeful. And I know we're going to get there. I firmly believe it. So.
Matt?
Yeah, maybe this is a stupid question.
But I'm wondering if maybe you three could be a little bit more specific about what some of those little changes that maybe people like us don't get to see as you're trying to dramatically change outward results in this kind of highly competitive environment. What does that look like?
So I grew up 25 minutes away from Rutgers, so I've really been able to kind of watch Rutgers grow. I remember I used to go watch high school games, and I was like, oh, okay, never really imagined myself playing here. But now that I'm here, I've really been able to see it from point A to whatever point we're at now. And even though, again, like you said, we go through some tough times, and it's a tough conference to play in every single weekend, day in, day out, there's been massive changes, and I think especially in the culture, and I'm really excited for this year because I think we're going to bring a side of Rutgers that you guys haven't seen yet, so really excited for that.
I was going to say, yeah, some of the little changes that you're talking about is just holding each other accountable, not letting those little things, if you're 5 minutes late, not letting that go unnoticed, making sure we all come to treatment early, making sure that we just all trust each other and just hold each other accountable, honestly, because I feel like that hasn't happened in the past. And so now that we're doing that, it's just, you're going to be able to notice.
Yeah, and behind the scenes things, Rutgers has invested in our program from a budgetary standpoint. We're mid-range in the league now from a budget, and you see how that's reflected in some of our other Olympic sports who have been very successful within this league and within the NCAA. They were just a bit ahead of us in that change process, and in things like we have a strength coach who works with just us and one other team now versus someone who was working with 5 other teams. We have our own sports medicine trainer who's just with us and a secondary team as well. So those are some things that really do matter that can change just what type of athlete we're able to bring in and recruit because they're getting that personal dedication. But we also did something that I think was kind of unique. We hired a communication consultant that worked with our team this past spring because as they talk about accountability, this was someone who, and I wasn't in these conversations, they can talk to more about this, but this was someone who really taught the women how to interact with each other both on the court in one way, how to communicate, and then how to communicate off the court as well, that you don't have to be the exact same in which way. So she was a really huge help, and I've seen that reflected in just the way that the team interacts over the summer. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, it was really a great experience. I think we underestimated how important team chemistry and team connection was. Rutgers has always been a close team, but I think that when we really had the time to sit down and really talk about what makes this person different, what does this person need to really succeed on and off the court, I think you're going to be able to see like huge changes in our gameplay, and I think it's just something that's really exciting and will bring us to the next level.
It's very interesting because I don't think I've heard of many other departments reaching out to that kind of outside expertise before. Was that a Rutgers athletic department initiative, or was that unique just to the women's volleyball program?
It was unique to my brain.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think that when I kept asking the team after each match, that was, we had a very specific goal sheet for ourselves, and that was not to win the Big Ten. We created what are these baby steps that we have to take along the way, and we had the last time Rutgers volleyball ... and it's some things like the last time we took a set from Penn State, the last time we took a road set, and we were able to cross these things off. The last time we had someone setter of the week, and we're slowly kind of building up to this bigger event, and it is pretty neat, and that evolves each year. Now it could be the next time we take 2 sets from Penn State, but so slowly. But whenever I asked the girls after a loss, like what was the biggest issue, communication kept coming back. And sometimes that's just something that players say to not have to answer any other questions. But I took a mental note about that, and it was something that stuck with me over the Christmas break. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try this. And it was not a sports psychology route. It was very much a business organization. How do effective businesses communicate with one another, from a leadership standpoint to colleagues to everyone. So and we'll continue working with this woman and her team, and I think that will be reflected in our gameplay for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions here in the room? I have one final question on Zoom this is for Madison. Can you talk a little bit about some players you expect to really develop this year and stand out for your program?
Yeah, the one player that I expect to really develop and stand out is Alyssa Kinkela, our Australian. She has been working so hard over the summer, and I'm just really proud of her. And it's just crazy to see how much she's grown from freshman year to this year. And she's so much fun to watch. She's a great teammate, and I'm just really happy and excited for her.
Any last questions in there? Go ahead, Pete.
Sure. Coach, you got recently the 5th straight ABCA Team Academic Award. How do you balance that now, especially in a world with NIL existence, still trying to promote the academic side, again, 5 years straight, while balancing what may be external influences?
Rutgers is an extremely challenging academic institution. I have a master's degree in education, so this is, for me, as it's at the top of my pyramid on my wall of things that are core values, and academics for me is at the forefront. Obviously, being successful on the volleyball court and being successful in life are all things that I want all my players to succeed at, but the investment in the academics, we have a wonderful academic advisor who really spends time, and we've created a game plan that they meet with him once a week from the start of their freshman year all the way through graduation. And that is just a touch base, or it could be a much more extended conversation, and it gives them some freedom to allow for some assistance what's already scheduled. Whereas if not, they have to figure out a way to walk into his office and say, hey, can we meet? This is a pre-planned time. And but I have not shied away from my players taking challenging majors. By 2023, I think we'll have 4 engineers on the team. We have some pre-med, we have business, we have sports management, we have everything. And I say this is going to be tough. This is something that you have to balance. And when you add in the NIL piece and a social life and all the things that a college student wants to do, there's only so many plates you can hold up in the air. But we really do spend time and have an open door policy with the coaching staff that if they need help and they need to figure out, we've done this. I didn't do NIL. I wish there was NIL for coaches. It'd be great. It probably is, but but they have come for questions and advice. And again, I think having Abby on staff as well, who is much closer in age to them, who's recently gone through the process of balancing academics and school and everything else, is extremely helpful. So,
Coach, appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
I'd love to
thank you. Sure, Kim. Thank you all very much.
Thank you guys.